Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Sarasvati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. Okay, so today we're going to see the summary for chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. So I will share my screen and then we will go through the different topics and the verses and everything like that. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, all right. So you can all see my screen, yes? Yeah? Okay, all right. So here, first we'll start from chapter 1. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, right? The yoga of Arjuna's grief. So in this chapter, what we saw is that Arjuna, he breaks down, right? So this is just a very, very brief review that he went to the battlefield and he thought that he could fight, but when he saw Bhishma, Drona, etc., his lips, his mouth was parched, his body was quivering, his mind was whirling. Right? Then the Gandiva was slipping from his hand. Then in chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, this is where Bhagavan Krishna actually gives Arjuna the highest teaching. It says, Arjuna, you are actually Atman. You are that pure awareness, consciousness. And knowing this, you should not grieve. Knowing this, the wise should not grieve. And then in chapter 3, Karma Yoga, Arjuna is confused because he tells Lord Krishna, you said that Jnana Yoga is superior. Jnana Yoga meaning that knowledge, that you are pure consciousness, pure awareness. That knowledge is the highest. But why are you telling me to perform Karma Yoga? Well, Bhagavan Krishna said, there's no contradiction. Perform Karma Yoga because it is a means. It prepares us to get Sankhya Yoga. It prepares us to get knowledge. So Karma Yoga, or this selfless, dedicated service, that is the means to gain knowledge of the self. So there's no confusion. Then chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, which is through knowledge, renunciation of action, What happens here is Shri Krishna gives the real meaning of action. Normally, we think action is moving around and doing stuff and going here and there, but he says that karma or action means the presence of doership, and akarma is the absence of doership. So it's not about action, it's about the doership. That's where the secret lies. Then we come into chapter 5. Chapter 5 now is actual renunciation of action. It's called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And what we saw here is, again, Arjuna has a question. So in the third chapter, Arjuna's question was, should I do Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga for moksha or liberation? Well, there's no choice. We have to do both. We have to do Karma Yoga to purify our mind, and then Jnana Yoga so that we can gain knowledge. But in chapter 5, there's actually two possibilities shown. For step 1, we can actually, for this step, the purification of the mind, we can actually either pick Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyasa. So in the life of Karma Yoga, one gains purity by doing their duties and adhering to their dharma without any expectation or hankering over fruits of the actions. Or one way is karma sannyasa. That's also another way to gain purity, wherein one renounces the worldly life. So it kind of looks like this, right? Karma yoga, normally the adhikari or the student is one who is in the married life or has children or is working in the world. Normally it is the one who is very much involved in the world. And for them, the best path to begin with to purify the mind would be grahastha, because there's still a lot of responsibilities that need to be taken care of. And many times maybe there is also a desire or some desires to exhaust in the world, and the focus is spiritual life, but there's also family life, which is important. There's also career, which is important. So for people in that realm, the best way to purify is karma yoga. Now, there may be some who may not be so interested in that kind of life, in pursuing a career or in pursuing a family. Their path of purification is different. They perhaps may have lesser vasanas to want to experience the world. So for them, maybe they just want to concentrate or focus on Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. And that's all they want to do. So for those who want to do just that and nothing else, then Karma Sannyasa is prescribed. And both these paths are meant to purify us. Both of them will end up in Jnana Yoga. Both of them have to end up in knowledge. It's just a question of how we get there. And the examples I gave you when we were in chapter 5 is, remember, one is the train and one is the airplane. The train may move slower, but it's very strongly rooted. It's very stable. And if one gets into an accident in a car or a train, it's not as bad. But if one tries to go very quick and gets into an accident in a plane, that's very, very difficult to overcome. So the idea here is, which one should I follow? Where am I at? This depends on where we are at in our lives. And wherever we are, that's where we're meant to be. So no need to question anything. That's where we're meant to be, and we should work from there. Now we come to chapter 6, Atma Samyama Yoga. This is the yoga of meditation, because now we're going into this a little bit deeper, especially for those who want to prepare themselves well, to gain this knowledge, to abide in this knowledge. Then meditation is a pathway, is a means to get there. So this chapter can be broken down into 10 steps. 10 steps or 10 different areas. So the first area, so this is the number and then these are the verses. So the first area is preparation for meditation, Karma Yoga. The second one is where we will talk about Arurukshu and Yoga Rudha. So somebody who wants to climb onto meditation and someone who's actually riding on meditation. Then the third topic is Yoga Rudha, who is actually the able and fit meditator. Then topic 4 is verses 10 to 17, the practice of meditation. How do we actually meditate? Then topic 5 is what is this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, all about Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Topic 6 is Sahaja Samadhi, backed by knowledge. Topic 7 is practical methods to control the mind. Topic 8 is the fallen yogi. Topic 9, the praise of the meditator. And topic 10 is the seed for chapter 7. So now that we've seen all of that, we have enough background, we will enter. So the first topic, Bhagavan Shri Krishna praises the karma yogis. He says karma yogis are like sannyasis because they also renounce. The karma yogis, those who are engaged in selfless, dedicated action, whether in doing their duties to the best of their abilities, or whether in also, engaging in their communities or wherever, they give up the results of actions, meaning that they do their best, they do whatever they can do, and there's no insistence, there's no hankering, there's no worry, there's nothing like that over the results of actions. They're very much present in what they do, and whatever happens will have to happen. And because of this, there's an element of renunciation. The karma sannyasis, they give up both the actual actions and the results of actions. What kinds of actions? They give up actually pursuing anything in the world, right? So any worldly kind of action, they give that up, and their actions are mainly spiritual actions based on their spiritual sadhana practices, and they also give up the results of actions. So in this way, there is an element of renunciation that's similar to both of them. And he says also that the karma yogis, are like meditators, because when a karma yogi, a selfless, dedicated worker, renounces the results of action, no more hankering, no more insistence, no more worrying, then the mind gets less agitated. And so the mind is relatively calm. And for a karma sannyasi also, the mind, because they've renounced actions and the results of actions, the mind is quite calm. So they can meditate. So who can really meditate? Who can meditate is one who first practices karma yoga. If we do not practice karma yoga to its fullest, we will not be able to sit and meditate successfully. We can try, we can sit there, we can close our eyes and start to want things to happen, but we will not be successful. Because karma yoga is that antidote. It's like that medicine that removes our impurities. Then Bhagavan Krishna says, see, there are two kinds of seekers. One is called the Arurukshu, the one who really wants to meditate successfully. They are called Arurukshu because they have the desire to climb on meditation. And so they should engage in karma yoga fully. They should engage in it, and slowly they will find that their mind is able to be a little bit more peaceful and calm and less swinging up and down. And those who are yoga rudha means those who now have fulfilled their karma yoga. Their minds are steady and calm. They are ready to ride on the seat of meditation. So they're not anymore climbing, they're yoga rudha. They're riding on that seat. And how did they get there? They got there through shama, quietude or withdrawal of the mind. So when one wants to climb into meditation, they should perform karma yoga. And actually, when one wants to ride in meditation, it's a lot of renouncing of karmas, renouncing or giving up of unnecessary things that we don't really need to do for one who wants to get very, very deep. So that's why you will find sometimes people, they want their alone time, or they go to very quiet, serene places to sit and to just be for some time. So now the question comes that we might desire, or we might want to also be this yoga rudha, the one who's able to climb into meditation, who's able to ride in meditation, able to ride very steadily. How did the yoga rudha, how did the rider get there? So very beautiful verses. Shri Krishna says, Uddhared atmanatmanam, lift yourself by yourself. Mind is our best friend and mind is our worst enemy. This is a very, very popular verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who want to get to this state have to work with their minds. There's absolutely no bypassing that. We have to start to be able to manage it, to control it, to master it. And having mastered it, don't let it fall again. The mind that is in our control, in our mastery, is our best friend. The mind that is out of our control and out of our mastery is our worst enemy. It's very much like a phone, right? So the phone that is in our control, we can use it to communicate with people, we can use it to do work, we can maybe use it to take nice pictures, and it will help us in what we're actually trying to pursue. But the minute that the phone is out of our control and we're not in control of how much time we use it, and we while away time on it, and we just unnecessarily go here and there, it actually drains our energy. So it's the same instrument, it's just how we manage it. So if we want to do that, if we want to be able to meditate, we have to lift ourselves by ourselves, meaning lift the mind with that intellect, with that shastra, that sattvic intellect. Lift the mind to that level and keep lifting the mind. And if we see it fall, we see it go down, again lift it up. And don't let it go down too much. If we see it slide a little bit, then right away lift it up. But keep lifting ourselves up. Then this yoga rudha, one who is very much in this meditative mode, there's something very beautiful about the way they conduct themselves. First of all, what is very different about them is they've renounced the sankalpas, they've renounced any such notion of joy in the world. They've renounced that. They've renounced any worldly action that is not conducive to spiritual seeking, and they've renounced hankering over the results of actions. So because they've renounced all of that, then they're able to peacefully meditate, because these are the blocks that come to us when we meditate. We're maybe thinking of getting some object, obtaining something somewhere, going somewhere, or we're worried about what will happen with this and what will happen with that. So the mind goes in so many directions. But this yoga rudha, this meditator, has renounced that. And because of that, there's a certain attitude that they have. They have a very calm and relaxed mind, and they see the same essence in everything. In this regard, we talked about how, for some people, when they see gold, it sort of makes them better or makes them feel higher, of a higher status. Or when people have more money, it makes them feel greater. And so that one thing can make them greater. If somebody has a nice property, it can make them feel so nice. Or somebody has a small property or a different kind of car, it can make them feel small. So in day-to-day life, things or materials can make people feel big and small. But for this yoga rudha, because they don't see any such value in the object besides what it can actually be used for, they're not elated or put down by these objects. They just see that same essence everywhere. And they see the same truth in all people, whether it's a friend, whether it's an enemy, whether it's somebody who criticizes, whether it's a stranger. They're able to see that same truth, that same essence in all. Because after all, we need all kinds of people in our lives. We need people who are way better than us, so that we can also look up and say, oh, we should go to that level, right? We need to have people also who are friends, so that they can encourage us. We need people who also criticize us, so that we can be better, and it can be a test of how stable, how calm we can be. And we need people also who are going through what we've been through, so that we can guide them. So we need all kinds of people in our lives. And this meditator clearly acknowledges that and sees that same essence in all different beings. Now, so what if one wants to really get into meditation? How should we start this practice? So in verses 10 to 17, the whole practice of meditation is culled out. So anything that we want to know about meditation is actually in this very chapter. The time should be preferably the same time every day. Because remember that there's something called Kalavasana and Deshavasana. Kalavasana, that deep impression of time. Deshavasana, that deep impression of place. So if I do it the same time every morning, then my mind is already used to it. In fact, after some time, the mind craves it. It's 4:30 in the morning, the mind is craving to just do it, because it's the same time every day. And preferably Brahma Muhurta in the morning, between 4 to about 6:30. That's a very sattvic time, and the whole environment is very conducive to meditation. Place also, when we go to the kitchen, we all of a sudden feel hungry. When we go to the bedroom, we feel sleepy. So if we set up a meditation altar, a space where we can sit, then that vibration will be there. Every time we go there, we will feel like sitting, feel like being quiet. So things like phone and TV and stuff like that, it shouldn't be in that area. It should be a sacred space where nothing else but this peaceful practice takes place. So that place. the environment sacred, solitary, clean. So because it's a temple, it should be very, very clean and sacred, as we said, and also it's a solitary practice. One need to not meditate with other people. Sometimes we do group meditation, that is fine once in a while, but for one's daily practice, it should really be a solitary one. Otherwise, we'll be thinking, is the other person's eyes open yet? What are they doing? What are they thinking? We won't really be meditating as such. And the mental attitude, free from fear, free from worry. Again, free from all this want, this anxiety, this hope, this wanting to hoard, free from all of those kinds of emotions, and with a vow of brahmacharya, keeping our senses in control, because this will really help us at the seat of meditation. Remember, things that we see that disturb us, or hear, or smell, or taste that disturb us, they'll disturb us in the seat of meditation. Some song might just come to our minds and go on and on and on, or something that we saw which we really didn't want to see is going to come into our mind. So that practice of brahmacharya, that being very careful of what we surround ourselves with, is important for the practice of meditation. Here also, Sri Krishna speaks about the seat, that use your own asana, use your own seat, not something that's too hard, because then one will feel pain, not something that's too soft, because that will make us bend like this, not something that's too high where there's a fear of fall, and not something that's too low like in a cave where we don't know what's going on, and again we might fall if it's too low or near a river or something like that. Not too cold, not too warm. So a proper seat one should have while meditating, so that once that's taken care of, all we have to do is just go into it. So the more the outer circumstances are controlled and conducive, the easier it is to go within. The posture. So the back, neck, and head in a straight line. I picked up this picture because it clearly shows, because sometimes we do this, or sometimes we rock, or sometimes we lean over to a side like that. So here, it's the back, neck, and head in a straight line. Sometimes it's helpful to put a pillow to lift, this part of us, so that way the back stays straight. But this is the idea, and not a straight where we're so rigid and trying to control ourselves. A very relaxed kind of straight, where we relaxed, it's easy for us, it's comfortable, and it's pain-free. So relaxed, comfortable, and it's free from pain. For those who are sitting in the chair, this is also important, that don't lean the back to the chair, because then it has a tendency to scrunch like this, and keep the chin parallel to the floor, because sometimes also those who are sitting in the chair may do this. Also those sitting in the ground. And the legs, though sometimes those sitting in the chair, they tend to bring the legs inward. So it's got to be straight at a 90-degree angle. So one has to find a chair that's suitable. The legs shouldn't be off above the air, with not firmly on the ground. Legs shouldn't be shaking on the air like that. If that happens, then you can put a pillow or something underneath it, but make sure that everything is straight, because also then we get the most energy when the back is straight. Okay, then it also talked about how to prep, right? So here we have the body scan. This is what I had explain to you in class, because we can't just go straight into meditation just like that, right? In the verses, it says to focus. So what I've put here are the steps that we do for Gayatri Japa, which has been very, very helpful because we go from the grossest level to the subtlest level. And those who want, they can use this kind of method, but this is just to show you how we could slowly go inward. So maybe first do a body scan so that we let go of the food sheath, let go of any tension, any strain in the body. Then the second is to watch the breath, pranamaya kosha, the vital air sheath. So slowly we're bringing our breath, just watching it, relaxing it. And then the third is take a sankalpa. So here we may decide to take a sankalpa that for the next 30 minutes or so, I will not move. Or for the next 10 minutes or so, I will not move. So at least if there's a firm resolve, then we try to stick to it. So take such a sankalpa and then seek the grace of Guru and Bhagwan. This is a manomaya kosha, or the emotional sheath, because nothing happens without grace. So here we are seeking their grace to be able to sit and actually meditate. And then make the mind single-pointed. We come to Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellectual sheath, right? Make the mind single-pointed. And that thought in this particular chapter, what thought are we to entertain? The thought that we are to entertain is, I am that pure awareness, I am that pure consciousness, I am Brahman. If that knowledge is very clear, entertain that kind of thought and just keep going with it. If such a thought there is not clear, then you meditate on a form of Bhagavan or Bhagavati, form of Shiva, form of Krishna, form of Devi, that is also fine. Or if you want to watch your breath, keep watching your breath, that is also fine. But in Jnana Yoga, the ideal thought to have, or the ideal thought to get to, is I am Brahman, or to bring a mantra to the mind or a shloka to the mind. Then the next step, number 6, is the mind just becomes silent. Then observe that silence. That silence is that Anandamaya Kosha. That's not Atma, that's Anandamaya Kosha, or the bliss sheath. You just remain as yourself, the witness of that silence. So in this way, we go from the grossest to the subtlest. So what to meditate on, I already mentioned this, the thought that I am Brahman. And why are we doing this? So in Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, or the path of knowledge, it's very specific. The purpose of meditation is to be rooted in the self. That is the purpose. When I explained this chapter to you, I had said that meditation has 2 aspects. One is that actual practice of meditation, and the second is actual being. So one part is quietening the mind, and the other part is transcending the mind. So in the first part of quietening the mind, that's where all of this comes in. Doing japa, watching the breath, doing dhyana on that Ishta Devata, doing a body scan. Sometimes they have sound meditation, sometimes they have light meditation. all of this comes in the realm of purifying the mind. And this is where many places stop. In Jnana Yoga, we do a second step, which is transcending the mind. So that very mind which became quiet, now drop that mind. I am not that mind. I am not that mind. I am not that ego. I am that pure self. So the second part is transcending the mind. And this is primarily why in Jnana Yoga we meditate to reach this level of being able to transcend the mind and be rooted in the knowledge of the self. And here it is said removal of erroneous notions, because sometimes, even if we clearly understand I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the ego, still the vasanas are still there, deep rooted habits are still there. So to remove those habits, those erroneous notions, this is prescribed, right? So the second part, that transcending the mind, that's actually how deep we want to go. And now Sri Krishna is going to even take us a level deeper, much deeper than that. Before he goes there, he cautions us and says, meditation is a lifestyle change. It's not something that we think we can just do for 30 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. To be able to do it really well, our whole life has to change. And the famous verse comes, yuktahara viharasya, that our eating should be in moderation. Our engagement with the world should be in moderation. Sleeping, waking should be in moderation. Because if everything is in moderation, then peacefully I can sit and meditate. If we eat too much, then we're suffering from indigestion. And if we eat too less, then we could be thinking about food at the meditation seat. If we sleep too much, then we will just not feel like meditating, and we might have all kinds of aches and pains in our bodies. And if we sleep too less, we know what happens. We'll fall asleep meditating, right? And if we have been too active in the world, oh, the mind will not calm down in the seat of meditation. And if we have been too inactive, then the mind will want to go out. So it's that idea of being able to live a life of moderation. And sure, there are some times we may, slip or fall because family visits, there's a family event, there's an unexpected thing that happened. That and all is okay. It's a part of life. It happens. Then bring oneself back up. As long as, for the most part, we are living this kind of lifestyle. We're living this kind of lifestyle where it's in moderation, where we are taking care of our health, and we are able to forget about our body even, our mind even. It's like you wear a pair of shoes, and if the shoe is so uncomfortable, if it doesn't fit right, we keep thinking about the shoe. Everywhere we walk, we keep thinking about the shoe. Maybe it's too tight in front, or maybe it's hurting us in the back. All we think about is the shoe. But when the shoes really fit us, we don't even think about the shoes, correct? So when the body is very healthy and fit, we don't even think about it or worry about it. But when it is unhealthy and unfit, we keep thinking about it. And the way to get it healthy is through moderation, through a proper routine. Then, now Bhagavan Krishna says, I want you to take this meditative practice all the way to the peak, to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. What is this Nirvikalpa Samadhi? So, as we're meditating, this section, this chapter in Bhagavad Gita, as I mentioned also before, uses a lot of Patanjali Maharishi's Ashtanga Yoga. So all of this is from Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold path. So yamas, nyamas, pranayama, yama, nyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Those are the first four. And then dharana, dhyana, samadhi. First four, first five. Then dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So dharana means where we are holding the mind to one object, to our object of meditation. Object of meditation here is the thought that I am Brahman. So we are sort of dharana, tying our mind to that thought, I am Brahman. And there the mind can be quite distracted, but don't worry, keep going, and eventually one will come to dhyana. Dhyana is where, after we have tied the mind to that thought, I am Brahman, slowly we're getting more and more thoughts towards that. Slowly we are thinking in that direction, in that line. We are thinking in that direction, in that line. A few thoughts are going here and there. It's okay. Keep going. Eventually one will come to Savikalpa Samadhi, wherein there's constant single-pointed thought flow. And it's going, and it's going. But the idea that I am the meditator still exists. That I am the meditator, I am meditating, and this is what I'm meditating on. That whole process is going on, very much involved in it. A point comes where that process becomes so effortless, so automatic, that the meditator gets absorbed in that meditated. And there's no more action of meditating, there's just being. That is Nirvikalpa Samadhi, wherein that very mind gets absorbed in the self. The mind gets completely absorbed in the self, like the salt doll merges into the ocean. And in that, there's just an effortless abidance. There's no more triad of meditator, meditated, meditating. And although the meditation is going on, we don't feel it actively. It's like when you're driving a bike and you're pedaling. At some point you sit and you're just resting. And the bike is moving, but you're not pedaling. You're just resting, right? It's like that. It's moving, but you're not doing anything. That meditation is just happening. You are just in being. That's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Samadhi means absorption of the mind in the self. Savikalpa, vikalpa means thought. Savikalpa, with thought, meaning with the thought of I'm the meditator, there's a meditated, and there's meditating. Nirvikalpa, without that thought that I am the meditator, this is the meditated, and I am meditating. So he says we can go up to this level of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And a beautiful example is given in the Bhagavad Gita. It's like an unflickering steady light in a windless spot. So like that light, this light which is unflickering, it's just not moving in a windless spot. It's just there. And when the mind flickers, why do people want to go to this level? Why? Because here the self is very, very self-evident. Huh? The self right now, Atman, is ever there. But in that state, that self is very evident. I'll give you an example. Let us say there's a young child who doesn't know what a movie screen is. So a young child does not know what a movie screen is. So the mother takes the little boy, to the theater, and the movie's going on, and she's telling him, do you see that which is beneath all these colorful pictures, the cars and the roads and the trucks? Do you see that beneath the picture? And he says, what? She says, that on which all of these trucks and cars rest on. That's the screen. And the boy says, no, I can't see it. So she says, okay, let's wait till the intermission. So before they would have some intermissions. And then what happened was, now the lights were all off, completely black. And then, so it's very, very dark. And then at some point, right before the movie starts again, they turn on the light and the screen is completely black. And now the mother tells the boy, you see that blank screen? Do you see it? And he says, yes. And then she says, now when the movie plays, I want you to be able to see it. And then when the movie starts again, the boy is now able to understand that in the substratum of this movie is a screen. The boy clearly understands it. There's no doubt about it, right? So no more questions for him. He knows exactly what's a screen. Now, in the path of Vedanta, one does not need to go to this level to ascertain that there is Atman, but there are many who want to go to this level to ascertain that there is this Atman. And mostly the people who are in the path of yoga, they go to this level. In Vedanta also, some go to this level because there's such a clear, direct revelation. Not that we see Atman, because we cannot see Atman, otherwise Atman would be an object, but we remain exactly as we are, and it's very self-evident. I gave you examples before, like when we open our eyes, we know we have eyes because we can see many things. But when we close our eyes, we can feel our eyes more, right? We always have eyes. In the same way, Atman is ever shining, ever present. Amidst all of the objects, Atman is there. But when all of the objects are removed, Atman is there evidently. That's the difference, right? Also, when one takes this practice to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, all of the vasanas are uprooted. We have our great saints and sages. They went to this extent of quietening the mind because it is the highest bliss that is possible to experience with the mind. Remember, the self is the nature of bliss. So naturally, I am bliss. Naturally, you are bliss. This is our nature. The highest bliss at the level of the mind is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So some saints and sages choose to revel in that. And attaining that, there's no question of fall because the vasanas, as we said, the negative vasanas are deeply rooted out. So some may have the knowledge of the self, but are not deeply, deeply rooted in it yet. So certain times there might be a slip here and there. Not that their knowledge is not there. Knowledge is definitely there. Knowledge is definitely there. But because of the lack of this practice, or if they're not practicing, then there may be a slip here and there. Maybe a slip here and there. And this nirvikalpa samadhi, there's no greater state than this, no higher state than this. And when one goes to this level, they cannot be shaken by the greatest of sorrows. So we've seen how our saints and sages, they would have gone through disease, cancer, so many surgeries. Gurudev, his heart was barely functioning. They went through so much, yet they were able to stay so steady. They're not shaken by the highest of sorrows. It's because of their intense tapasya. So there are people, remember, knowledge is at the level of removing ignorance. So once ignorance is removed, knowledge is gained. But there are different levels of abiding in this knowledge. Some go to the level of savikalpa samadhi, some go to the level of nirvikalpa samadhi, and even in nirvikalpa samadhi, there are degrees to which they go. They're in the sapta bhumikas, we call. So some go into nirvikalpa samadhi, wherein they themselves wake up from it. Others go into nirvikalpa samadhi, wherein they go in so deeply that others have to wake themselves. Others have to wake them up because they're not able to wake themselves out of it. They're not able to wake themselves, shake themselves out of it. Like how Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi Ji was in a cave and people had to literally just feed him because he was not getting out from it. So there are different levels of this practice. Then Bhagavan Krishna says, yoga is the disunion from the union with sorrow. So normally we define yoga as union, but here he gives us a very beautiful definition that yoga is actually the disunion from the union with sorrow. We unite with sorrow when we identify with the limited, when we identify with the limited body, mind, intellect, ego. When we do that, then we are uniting with sorrow. When we take the world to be very, very real, then we are uniting with sorrow. So yoga is the disunion from that. Now, Sri Krishna says that nirvikalpa samadhi, how to attain. Let us say if we want to get into this state, attempt to get into it, how do we do it? So very important, the first is to drop sankalpas. So that also came earlier. Drop sankalpa means that drop the superimposition of joy in the world. Until and unless I drop this, I won't be able to sit down and really go deep. A superimposition of joy in the world means I feel and I think that the world can make me happy. There are 4 big lies. I'll remind you of these again. One is that I need to be happy. I need happiness. This is lie number 1. Lie number 2 is the world will make me happy. That is lie number 2. Lie number 3, I am sad. This is a lie also. Lie number 4, the world will remove my sorrow. So these are all big, big, big lies. I need happiness is a lie because my nature is already happiness. Why will I need that? Then second is the world can give me happiness. The world can give me comfort, yes, security, yes, emotional support, great material wealth, but not truly lasting happiness because, first of all, the world is appearing in me. So I am that itself. How is it going to give me happiness? I am that, right? And I am sad is again a lie because that is the level of the mind. The mind may be sad, but my nature is one of bliss. And number four, that the world can actually remove my sorrow. I have no sorrow to begin with. So, what is the world actually going to remove? Hmm? So to attain this state takes a lot of vairagya, that this passion from the world, that not seeing the world anymore as that which is going to give me lasting joy. Only with that, then one is able to let go. Then, of course, control of the mind and senses. This discipline is an absolute must. Because imagine to go to such a deep, subtle state, all of this is required. Absolute control of the mind and senses. And to go within gradually. So earlier we talked about going through the koshas or the different sheaths. And in Kathopanishad, there's also a way to go from the speech, drop the speech, come to the mind, drop the thoughts in the mind, come to the ego, and then drop that ego itself and just remain as you are. So let the speech go, let the thoughts go, let the ego go, just remain as you are. And if the mind wanders again, it's okay. Just keep bringing it back. Just keep bringing it back. This is the art that we have to learn, because the more vigilant we are, the easier it gets to bring the mind back. Remember, this is a lifelong practice. We might feel like we're not making progress, it's too hard, it's too difficult, how long will it take? Abhyasa takes dirgha kala, takes a long time. Nairantarya, without breaks, without any unnecessary breaks. And satkara asevita, with deep love and reverence. Dhrida bhumihi, one gets established in this. That's what we'll have to do. And enjoy that practice. Enjoy the spiritual journey. It's a journey. When one comes out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one attains Sahaja Samadhi. If that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is backed by knowledge of the self. See, people can go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi based on just staring at light. One can go into it. Or hearing a sound, one can go into it. Or one can even go into Bhava Samadhi, wherein they think of their Ishta Devata and completely become quiet and immersed in that. But here, we're talking about that kind of Nirvikalpa Samadhi where the mind is absorbed in the self. It is backed by knowledge. That knowledge that I am the pure self, not the body, mind, intellect. I'm the pure awareness. This whole entire world rests in me. Actually, there is only me. Like I am the water. All waves are in me. And actually, all waves are nothing but me. I alone am. Right? So, with this kind of knowledge, when one goes into deep samadhi and with the clear understanding that there is no more difference, There's no difference between me and the world, because the world is like, as we said, waves, like waves, and I am water. All the waves rest in me. All the waves are nothing but me. And all the waves cannot exist without me. Therefore, I am. Actually, I alone am. So there's no difference between us, me, awareness, and the world. There's no difference between awareness and jiva, right? Because there's jiva, jiva bheda, meaning there might be apparent differences between our bodies and our minds, but we are all that same awareness, like indivisible space. The bodies may be apparent, they may seem like they're dividing us, but actually they're only an apparent existence. How can they divide us? In and through this whole body is consciousness. This body is in fact consciousness, and without consciousness, this body can't exist. So there's no difference between jiva and jiva. Excuse me. There's also no difference between Ishvara or God and jiva and the individual. If God and I were different, then there are many, many big problems. If God's nature is pure existence and I am different from God, then I would be non-existent. If God's nature is pure awareness and I am different from God, then I would be not aware. I clearly exist and I clearly am aware. If God's nature is infinitude and I am different from God, God would be finite because there's something else other than Him. So it's a big problem if we were different from God. And if God were different from us. If I am pure existence and God is different from me, then God would be non-existent. If I am pure awareness and God is different from me, then God would be jada, inert. And if I am ananta, ananda, if I am infinite, and God is different from me, then we would both be finite, because you can't have two infinities. So there's no difference between Jiva, Ishvara. In essence, they are just that same awareness. There's no difference between us and the world, that same awareness. There's no difference between each other. We are the same awareness. Backed by this knowledge, when one goes into samadhi, they come out as being in sahaja samadhi, meaning whether their eyes are closed or open, whether they are sitting or standing, walking, they are ever in the self. They cannot be away from the self. Even if they don't think about the self, they are ever in the self. They are ever in the self. And what is their attitude? Atmopamyena. They clearly see others as their very own self. And they don't want to injure or hurt anybody. And they only want to be a source of joy. And if ever somebody else is happy, they rejoice in their happiness. And if somebody else is sad, they lift them from their sadness. Because they truly, truly see. This is not imagining. This is not, I feel you and I are one. This is not just saying you and I are one. This is factually, in reality, I understand you and I are one. I understand. And this is how it's expressed. I'll tell you a short incident. I had gone to buy a vase for flowers, for puja flowers. And I had gone to one store and I was paying for this vase. and had gotten some puja plates also, like metal plates and everything. And the lady at the counter said, oh, I'm gonna wrap these separately. I'll wrap your vase separately, and I'm also gonna wrap these plates separately because I don't want them to tinkle in your car when you put them in your car. And I just looked at her, and she said, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I just looked at her. I said, she is Atmopamyena Sarvatra, whatever is being said in the Bhagavad Gita, this lady so lovingly is expressing. So it's such a beautiful thing that the being in Sahaja Samadhi lives in this way, but even we, in our own way, we can also live in this way. This is such a practical thing that we can do every day, to see ourselves in others, and how it is said in many, many other religions, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. So it's a very beautiful practice, and that's here in our Bhagavad Gita. Now, here Arjuna is a little bit panicking, because he says, Shri Krishna, this sounds so wonderful, so beautiful, but I don't know if I'm going to make the cut, because my mind is restless, it's turbulent, it's strong. It's just too much for me to handle. You're telling me to sit to meditate, but the minute I sit, my mind wanders. And not only that, but it's so turbulent, it gets out of control. And it's sometimes so strong that it overpowers me. I can't even manage it. It just takes over me. And I get quite tired dealing with my mind. It is like controlling the wind. Shri Krishna, am I going to make it here? What am I going to do with myself? Shri Krishna says, Arjuna, don't worry. Two things we'll have to do. Abhyasa and Vairagya. That should be a long A. Vairagya. Abhyasa, practice, means keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Because remember, everything that we mastered in life, from walking to talking to eating, all these little things, from driving, all of it started with practice. So keep practicing, and you will make it. And the second is Vairagya, dispassion. Means start letting go. But how do we let go? Remember, this dispassion comes out of maturity. We are able to let go when we grow out of things. How do we grow out of things? One is by reflecting, constantly reflecting on the knowledge of the self, keeping ourselves in these teachings, keeping ourselves in these satsangs, in these classes, reading about this, listening to this, talking about it, keeping ourselves immersed in these teachings. Second is keep company of those saints, sages. You read their stories of their lives. Listen to what they say. Do the practices that they've done. Keep the company of fellow seekers on the path. Walk with them. Talk with them. Third is, if we must, then we can also do pranayama or yoga asanas. We can also do those kinds of things, so that slowly we spend more time inward and not outward. So when we do abhyasa and vairagya, slowly the mind will come under our mastery. And if you remember, in this regard, we saw Mandukya Upanishad, that whenever I see joy in the world, think again. Think about all the defects, the possible defects that are in that. How it's very, very temporary. How even if I go through that, am I going to be really fulfilled? How, again, it's going to leave me with another craving. Think. The minute a desire springs up, think of all these things. For how long will it make me happy? Do I really need to go through this? What is this really going to give me? What am I really going to get out of it? When those such worldly desires pull us out, think. And he also said, or think about that one pure self expressing as everything. And if I think about that one self expressing as anything and everything, why would I want myself? Will the pot ever want clay? No, it is clay. Will the bracelet ever want gold? No, it is gold. Why would it want it? Right? So in this way, keep practicing and keep association with good company so that we slowly grow out of these worldly things and are able to let go. Then Arjuna says, but wait a second, what if I don't make it in this life? Can you please help me? What if I don't make it? Shri Krishna says, don't worry, Arjuna. Your samskaras will carry over, right? So whatever you had, wherever you were from in your past life, that carries over in this life. Those deep tendencies, those deep impressions, they carry over in this life. Not necessarily your memory, but your deep impressions. And clearly for you, Arjuna, it has carried over, because those people who are on this spiritual path, who have sort of grown out of Karma Yoga and made their way to Jnana Yoga, but have not reached the fulfillment yet, and their body shed, they are called Yoga Brashta. And they are of two types. One is the Yoga Brashta that does not have any more vasanas. Those who don't have any more vasanas, they are born in the house of yogis and wise. Those who have some vasanas left over, they go to higher worlds. They exhaust them, and they are again born in the house of the pure and wealthy. And they make their way from there because of their purva samskaras, their previous samskaras. It pushes them, and in spite of themselves, they keep going and they get back on this path. Arjuna is the cousin of Bhagavan Krishna, and he has come from such a noble family. So Sri Krishna is almost telling him that he is a yoga brashta, the one who was not able to reach fulfillment in the past life and who's now carrying that forward. And because he is in the guidance, under the guidance of Sri Krishna, surely he will reach this very life itself. So don't even have a doubt. Don't have a doubt. So then Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, strive to be a yogi. In this verse, what Sri Krishna says is, there are different kinds of people. There are the ascetics, tapasvis. There are the jnani. Jnani in this verse 46 means those who are panditas, who have knowledge of the shastras, but maybe an indirect knowledge of the truth. And those who are karmis, who are those engaged in karma yoga. The best of the best are the yogis, those who have the knowledge of the self and abidance in the self. They are the best of the best. So strive to be that. And if this feels like so hard, this feels like such a leap, then don't worry. Shri Krishna says, the ones who have full faith in me, full surrender, and they are just immersed in me, their minds are immersed in me. To me, they are the most devoted. They are yuktatamo mataha. They are the greatest. And this is the seed of the seventh chapter. Seventh chapter is the yoga of knowledge and yoga of wisdom. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. And this seventh chapter begins the realm of Bhakti Yoga. 7th to 12th chapter, where Sri Krishna is going to hold our hand and melt our hearts in devotion for the Supreme Self, right? So with this concludes our summary of the 6th chapter. I'll just leave you with a short story. There was one man who was standing. He was just standing, mountain, standing. Then there were 3 friends who were looking at the man. He was standing just like this on top of the mountain. The one friend said, "Oh, he must have lost his cow." And the second one said, "No, no, no, because if he lost his cow, he would have been looking like this everywhere. But he's not doing that." The second one said, "No, no, 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 he didn't lose his cow. He's waiting for his cow. He's waiting for his cow." But the third one said, "No, no, 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 he's not waiting for his cow. Because if you're waiting for someone, you would be like this. But at some point, you will turn back to see if they're here or not, right? Or you'll look at your watch, or you'll just kind of check, or at some point. But he's not doing that." So the third one said, "He's meditating. I know he's meditating because he's just standing." So they all went to him. They said, "Let's ask him what he's doing. You know what he's doing. We want to know who wins this." So the first one said, "No, no, no, he's just, he's lost his cow." The second one said, "No, no, 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 he's waiting for his cow." The third one said, "He's meditating." So they went to him. They said, "What happened? What's going on with you?" And he said, "Do you know, all I'm doing is standing." "Why? Can't I just stand?" And that's all he was doing. That is a true yogi, the one who can just be, whether in meditation, out of meditation, the one who can just be. That's what we should strive to be, to just be. Okay? So with this, I invoke Bhagavan, I invoke Gurudev's blessings for guiding us on this chapter. I would like to read the whole chapter. If you can stay, please stay. But just so that we are able to keep these teachings in the mind, I would like to read it fully. Before I do that, and before I forget, Chapter 7 will start not next week, the week after, okay? Chapter 7 will start on March 18th. One of our Swamiji's, Swami Prakashanandaji, is visiting Chinmaya Vrindavan next week, and I would like to meet him, spend more time with him. So we will read these verses, and then we will conclude. So everybody can read with me. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Shashtodhyayaha Atma Samyama Yogaha Shri Bhagavanuvacha Anashritah Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगं कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते यदा हीनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत् जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विचितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन मध्यस्थद्वेष्यबन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्याद् योगमात्मविशुद्धये समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारिव्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थामधिगच्छति नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चातिस्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः यदा विनियतं चित्तम् आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यः युक्त इत्युच्यते तदा यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति सुखमात्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यमतीन्द्रियं वेति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्या दुःखसंयोगवियोगं योगसंज्ञितं स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्विण्णचेतसा सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामान् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः शनैः शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत् यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतद् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत् प्रशान्तमनसं ह्येनं योगिनं सुखमुत्तमम् उपैति शान्तरजसं ब्रह्मभूतमकल्मषम् युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी विगतकल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्म संस्पर्शम् अत्यन्तं सुखमश्नुते सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजत्येकत्वमास्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते आत्मौपं येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति योऽर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः अर्जुन उवाच योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्तः साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वात् स्थितिं स्थिराम् चञ्चलं हि मनः कृष्ण प्रमाथि बलवदृढम् तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वायोरिव सुदुष्करम् श्रीभगवानुवाच असंशयं महाबाहो mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Asamyatatmana yogaha dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptumupayataha. Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddhayopetaha yoga manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim krishna gacchati gacchino bhaya vibhrashtaha chinnabhramiva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vimudho brahmana pati. Etanme samshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshataha twadanyas samshayasyasya chetana yupapadyate. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyanakrit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati prapya punyakritam lokan ushitva shashwati samaha Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Bhijayate Athava Yoginam Eva Kule Bhavati Dhimatam Etadhi Durlabhataram Loke Janmayadidrisham Tatra Tam Buddhi Samyogam Labhate Paurvadehikam Yatate Chatato Bhuyaha Samsiddhau Kuru Nandana Purvabhyasena te naiva hriyate hyavashopi saha Jignasurapi yogasya Shabda Brahmati Vartate Prayatnadyatamanastu Yogi Samshuddha Kilbishaha Aneka Janma Samsiddhaha Tato Yati Param Gatim Tapasvibhyodhiko yogi Jnanibhyopi matodhikaha Karmibhyashchadhiko yogi Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna Yoginamapi sarvesham Madgatenantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam Same yuktatamo mataha Om Tat Sadhiti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Atma Samyama Yogo Nama Shashtodhyayaha Hari Om Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Bhagavan's grace, Gurudev's blessings. We have reflected on the 6th chapter, and we should reflect again. We will meet on the 18th for chapter 7. Hari Om, everybody.